I learned this method from the Fluke Master. Ow, ow, ow. Ah. So this here is my native Slayer 10, Slayer Max Propel 10. And on its own, this kayak is pretty dang awesome. It's got propel drive with the foot. It's got some storage up here. It's got awesome areas back here for your powerful micro anchor. It comes with this thing called the Sidekick right here, which is literal wheels that clip into the back of my kayak. So when you're kayaking, they sit like that. And then when you're not kayaking, you want to bring it back to your truck or down the trail, you pull out the pin, you switch the position, boom, just like that, we got some wheels, and we can now wheel this thing all the way to grandma's house. But while this thing is pretty dang awesome, there are some customizations that I've been wanting to do for a long time to this, mainly adding a power pole micro anchor, adding electronics, and adding some extra storage, accessories and such to make this thing the ultimate fishing kayak. So let's get these sawhorses from the 1980s set up. And to help with all of these installations for the customization of my kayak to make it the ultimate, we're gonna bring in a special guest, and that is, it's my dad.
You're my dad. Wookie, wookie, wookie.
Time to give you all the list of things we're adding to this kayak. First thing, power pole micro anchor, the bracket, and the 8-foot light spike, Garmin EchoMap 93 SV unit, the Panoptix live scope system and transducer, ProGuide PGL 20 lithium battery, and lastly, all of the accessories needed to mount the live scope transducer onto the side of my kayak with a little arm. We've got a ram mount to stick my fish finder on the side, and several other mounts that are in this box right here. Now, the problem with filming a kayak install with so many different parts going on is that my dad and I are probably gonna be working on different things at once. So we're gonna time lapse, stop the time lapse, show you what we did, and then go back to time lapse and hop back and forth until this thing is complete. So I say, oh, wrong way. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we did here is that we realized that if we're gonna put live scope and electronics and stuff on the boat, I can't be keeping it in the front. This is a 10-foot kayak, it's pretty dang small. There's not much storage space in the front, and even if there was enough, I don't wanna weigh everything, the battery, the transducer, everything in the front here. And so we're gonna put it all in my black box back here. We're gonna put the black box in the black box. And then we made a list of all the things we need from Home Depot, because if you've ever built something, you know you don't have all the stuff you need the first time. So we'll see y'all at Home Depot. For a lot of the stuff that companies say for kayak builds, bass boat builds, if they say they send you all the parts you need for your build, most of the time that is not the case. So we had a long laundry list of, stainless steel nuts and bolts to attach things onto the kayak, my black box into my box back there, some screws to hold the Garmin main plate for the electronic onto the ram mount. We had to get some battery ring terminals so I can easily take off my cables that power the Garmin black box and the Garmin unit when I'm not using the kayak. Lots of things that you don't really think about until you start installing it, and then you realize, oh crap, I didn't have everything I needed. So I say for the rest of the video, let's just time lapse this thing and then show you everything we did to make it the ultimate fishing kayak. And then of course, get on the water and do some testing for ourselves. 3, 2, 1. So it is the next day, still wearing the same shirt because I'm on vacation. And a lot of customizations happened in yesterday's time lapses and in some stuff we didn't capture on camera. So here's a list of everything we did to make this the ultimate fishing kayak. The first and definitely the easiest thing we did was install a power pole micro anchor onto the back of my kayak. This thing is incredibly useful as seen here. Hey, but shout out to power pole. Look at that, I would not be able to get my rod and reel. What you see on your screen right now is my power pole micro saving my kayak from going downriver while I retrieved my rod and reel that was stuck on a tree. So this thing is helpful both in river situations and in flat water. And the next thing we did, which is really the bulk of the entire process, is the electronics install. So we have, like I mentioned, the 9-inch Garmin EchoMap unit. We have the Garmin black box that powers the LiveScope version 1, not LiveScope Plus. And then we have our ProGuide lithium battery that powers the entire thing. So the ProGuide lithium battery battery is housed up in the nose of the kayak in the little waterproof, or I guess water resistant, I guess I should call it, compartment up there. Then we had to drill a hole in that compartment that runs through the whole of the kayak to the rest of the things that need power from the battery. So along the port side of the kayak, we had a power cable that goes to my 9-inch unit and comes out through a little hole. And then on the starboard side, we have a different power cable that goes all the way back to the black box. We'll talk about where that's housed here in a second. Then we have to go from my LiveScope transducer to the black box. So it's kind of like a whole bunch of different connections. We had to take, you know, old-fashioned coat hangers and bend them in the right directions to make sure we had the right stuff to get our cables through. But all of that fits, surprisingly. And my graph turned on for the first time, which is a big ol' hallelujah. Now, starting with the fish finder, how is it secured to my kayak? It is secured via the rail system here on the Native with a ram ball mount. I think it's a 1-inch ball that goes to a 1-inch clamp, and then a 1-inch ball that has secured the mount, the main graph mount for my 9-inch unit. Now, it is a little bit wobbly, as you can tell from the footage on the screen right now. Not really a whole lot of stuff that I can do to fix that. I do have plans in the future to move my graph or add a second one up to the front of the kayak, in between a very small space, in between where the pedals, the drive sits, and where my front compartment is. I want to put the graph there. I just don't know quite how to build it yet. That'll be for a future video. Now, the only reason why I really wanted a fish finder on my kayak is so that if I'm fishing a body of water that is unmapped, I can know what is down there, where the grass lines are, where the rock piles are, and LiveScope, in my opinion, is the best and fastest way of telling an angler what is down there on the bottom. Not even for looking at suspended fish to LiveScope them on a jerkbait. I just wanted to have the best possible fish finder, and I think LiveScope is better as a fish finder and a depth finder than any sort of 2D or down scan. So the way that I have LiveScope set up on my kayak here is the black box is here in the back of the kayak, and the transducer is on my right side, or the starboard. That way, if I'm holding a bait caster in my left hand, my right hand can be free to turn the transducer. And you might wonder, Tyler, what do you mean by turn the transducer? Well, on a bass boat, the transducer for LiveScope sits on the trolling motor shaft. So wherever you point the trolling motor head, that's where LiveScope is pointing. It's super efficient. I wanted the same thing in a kayak, so I ordered a piece online. It took some jerry-rigging because we had to cut a piece of wood so the transducer would fit on there totally flat for the forward-facing view, but it looks awesome. And so anywhere I turn that little handle, that's where I know the transducer is pointed. And the black box that actually powers the LiveScope unit and the whole LiveScope system is actually in its own black box here in the back of the kayak. This box here has always held my tackle, my extra camera equipment, but now it has the black box and has also maintained the room for a few tackle boxes, because when I'm kayak fishing, I really don't need to bring a whole lot of equipment. So all the stuff that I used to keep in here can still stay in here even with the black box. So now when I get off the water, my kayak goes back on my truck or back on the trailer. I don't leave hardly anything of value in my kayak for my storage unit. The black box gets taken out with my big black box here. My fish finder, of course, gets unscrewed, and the only thing left in here, and the battery gets taken out, the only thing left is really the cables. I kind of want to raise the seat a little bit. Now, I'm not sure how to raise it, just 1.5 to 3 inches, maybe just some kind of like soft rubber pad for my butt that I secure to the seat so it doesn't slide forward, but I just want to be a tiny bit higher. As a bass boat fisherman, it's really hard for me to be sitting down and fishing, and so if I can be sitting up the highest I can, that's gonna be beneficial for me. Now, I'm sure you guys wanna see all this stuff in action, so I say we get the heck off the land, we put this thing in the water, and we catch some fish. So at this point, this kayak is honestly pretty dang heavy, so I'm very grateful for these wheels. Now, it's probably not as heavy as like a Hobie Pro Angler 14 or whatever, but it's heavy. First thing, we gotta take the wheels off. Uh-oh, where do I put the wheel? There's one, and there's two. An Aeronautique, dang it. I thought they only came out on the weekends. Garmin turn on, boom, yes it does. And let's put rods back here, a little bit of power, a little bit of pull. And I think we're ready to dump the old yakaboo in here. Ooh. Boom, that's what I'm talking about. Bring the yak around the dock here. We'll go ahead and power pull down since we can. Love it. Pedals. We ain't gonna go nowhere without these. And I think with that, we are ready to get the maiden voyage of our new ultimate fishing kayak. let's catch a fish. So the first thing I'm gonna do here on my Garmin, like I said, the main reason for installing it on my kayak is not for side scan or for really waypoints. It's just for mapping if I'm on a larger body of water, or for live scope on any body of water, just like I would use on the front deck of my bass boat. So I'm gonna get the gain and the color balance, noise reject, ghost reject, all that stuff the way that I like it, so that I can see grass the easiest on my fish finder. Now I think I like it right over here where it's at. Kind of a good angle for me right here. And let me find some grass lines and I'll show you what it looks like down there. So I'm not really super pleased with the image so far, especially with how much of a ghost tree there is right there. But as I turn my transducer to the left here, we find ourselves the little edge of the coontail grass line out there in 35 feet to our left. So we're gonna turn this off right here, grab ourselves the old-fashioned jig worm and get going. Oh my gosh, this is really nice to have a single wakeboard boat on a tiny lake. Really like that. Having trouble finding my lure. I've never had to use live scope on a hand transducer mount. Okay, we definitely have a nicer grass line out here than I thought we would. We have shallow grass that's pretty much junk, and then we have a nicer grass line out here. So we're gonna focus on this nicer outside one. Here we go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Popped it off the grass line and he came up and got it. Is it a bass? Is it a bass? I can't quite tell. What do we got? Hey, a nice largemouth. Bring it up in here, baby. Yes, sir. Oh, yes. Oh, Ultimate Fishing Kayak. Fish number 1 is a beautiful 3-pounder on the stinking jig worm. Dang, let's go. I need to get a little Instagram story of this. And just like that, got ourselves beautiful 3-pounder. We'll see ya later. I'm not gonna lie, I expected this to take much, much longer. So let's catch another one. Gosh, that was a bass the whole time. That was a bass the whole time. My goodness. I thought I was ripping it out of grass. I was ripping it right into his face. Yeehaw, little buddy. Thank you, thank you. One more. That's a bass. That's a bass. There we go. Yes. Bada bing, bada boom. Just had to use live scope and found a grass edge that looked a little bit more inconsistent. If you all missed my offshore grass fishing video, which, you know, I doubt that a lot of you kayak anglers watch that, but I did talk about inconsistencies in grass, and that's where the majority of your fish are gonna be. I was fishing just a standard looking grass line, couldn't get a bite. Pedaled around, I guess I should say, until I found a bigger clump sticking up kind of out of nowhere, and that is where this fish was, right on that clump. So cool. See, I'm not using live scope to like look at a fish. I'm not live scoping the fish. I'm using it to help me find cover faster. That way I'm making more productive casts. I'm all about this technology. Yes, there are downsides to crappie and populations, that kind of thing. But at least for what I use it for, I'm proud to say that I'm a forward-facing sonar aficionado. Gosh, there's one. Yes, sir. Right as I came off that clump there. Is this one nicer? Yeah, this one feels a lot nicer. Gosh, it's crazy how the big ones, oh, it's a pike. It's a slimy old piker. No wonder it felt nicer. Ugh. Don't you do it. Look at him. Look at that slimy old guy. We are not fans of you, my friend. Ouch. I also didn't bring you pliers. Can I lip? Oh gosh. Yeah, don't lip a pike. I thought I could do it. I thought I could do it and not get spined, but dang it. I got piked. I'm bleeding. That was so dumb. Why did I do that? Gosh, I'm bleeding pretty bad. Thought that I could just nicely like grab the bait out of his mouth without him squirming, but no, can't do that. Pike. And I don't think I have any pliers or scissors, do I? No, none. Taking that with you, buddy. You can have it. Gosh dang it. Okie doke. Welcome to Tyler's Real Dumb Fishing. We're gonna go to the house and clean up my finger. And that's gonna be the end of this video. Ta-da! Well, that is gonna do it for our kayak customization video, and I gotta say that I was very pleased with how this thing turned out. I know the installation process was a little longer than I thought it would be, but of course, I'm grateful to have a dad who can help me and is very, very knowledgeable when it comes to running wires and angles and zip ties. I love getting to learn from my dad as we build projects together, so I'm glad we were able to do this one together. Live scope works great. The arm here on the side for the transducer works great. Everything works great. Now, if you guys want to see an uncut video using this kayak right here before the additions, I will leave that here in the corner. It is like 3 hours of just pure fish catching at an awesome private lake in Texas. And my next uncut, when it comes out, will be up in this corner right here. Again, that will be with all the additions, hopefully catching tons of Minnesota bass. My name's Tyler, as always. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you next time right here on TRF. I got big, big energy.